This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good evening, everybody. This is the September 11th, 2001 Tribute Committee. It's an ad hoc committee. This is our first meeting. It's December 15th. As this is our first meeting, we'll spend a little bit of time kind of introducing ourselves and going over kind of the charge of the committee, answering any questions that folks might have. And then the other thing that this committee will have to do is select leadership. So a chairperson as well as a clerk to be able to take notes. And we can talk a little bit about that. So typically I don't have to be here unless you all request me to be here. I'm just here really tonight to kind of help facilitate this first meeting. And since this was something that I had initiated and was approved by City Council, wanted to make sure that I could support you and certainly thank all of you for your volunteering to be on this committee. It's certainly something that I very much appreciate, and I look forward to all the discussion that can come out of this and ideas that you all might have. So with that, why don't we go ahead and go around the room and we can introduce ourselves. I can start. My name's Connie Denham. I sit on City Council. I've lived here in Easthampton since 2013.
Dylan Maxfield. I'm an associate planner with the city. I've been with the city now for 2 years. I've been a resident of Pioneer Valley and Amherst for about the past 11 years. So yeah, excited to be on the committee with you folks.
Tom Garrick, I'm the Veteran Service Officer for Easthampton and Westhampton. I've been a VSO here for 2 years and look forward to getting a permanent monument up.
I'm Rebecca Bell. I've lived in Easthampton for, 12, 13 years, something like that. And yeah, I'm excited to be a member of this committee.
Mike Tausnick. I'm a lifelong resident. I live on Hendrick Street. Served as mayor for a while.
What? Okay.
Currently, I'm the treasurer for City Space. And relative to this, I'm also the spokesperson for the existing flag on National Mountain Pond that honors and remembers 9/11.
I'm Dan Constantine. I'm a captain on the Easthampton Fire Department. I've been with the fire department 29 years, lived in the city for 29 years. My wife, my children, my grown children now, and stuff. And yeah, that's me, just looking to help out. Yeah.
I'm Caroline White. I think I'm a community at large representative. I've been a resident of Easthampton since 2014, Pioneer Valley since 2006. I'm currently an archivist at UMass Amherst, so I work in the library, but also relevant to this endeavor. I lived in New York City from 1987 to 2006, so I was there on 9/11 and have strong feelings and strong memories, but also a cool head. So thank you for letting me join this.
Nice. I didn't ask everyone to kind of share their particular relationship to this just yet. I appreciate you all doing that and having that context. I know that this is something that it's very emotional, and I know we're in a space with a lot of new people, and so I didn't want anyone to feel vulnerable having to put that out there. But I'm certain that as we engage in these conversations, those memories and those stories will come up, and certainly want to be able to make space for those, because I think it's integral to, I think, ultimately what you all are very thoughtfully and very intentionally creating for the community as a place of reflection and a place of remembrance. And certainly this is, I just think about the last couple of days, the violence that we've seen and over the last several years of that, and really creating something that can hold space and hold a lot of emotion for people. So I certainly hope that you all will be willing to share those stories and those thoughts and those reflections, because I do believe that it will. One, it'll make you a stronger committee and more connected to each other, but also I think it will just really kind of shape and inform the final product, right? The final creation of what we talk about. So just to, does anyone else have anything that they would like to say in regards to what I just said? I want to make sure that people feel like they have space. Good. So just in terms of the responsibilities on this sheet right here, really there's kind of a few different phases here. The first phase is really to develop a rough concept and narrative, right? And I think that's some of the storytelling and the sharing that will come from that narrative. And creating a schedule, right, for having at least 2 open meetings that people from the community can come in and kind of share their thoughts and ideas, identifying a location, either on this particular, at the safety complex, or someplace else within the community. Present that initial concept to the mayor and city council. And then kind of phase 2 will, putting out I'm having difficulty talking, I'm sorry, it's been a very long day. Request for proposal, and working with various city departments to do that, particularly the procurement officer, and being able to kind of create what the design review stages for that would be, developing cost of what that would look like, coordinate with the mayor's office and procurement to advertise for design and contractor, et cetera, as well as putting out advertisements to be able to get those in, and then presenting that to the city council. And then the final stage, which hopefully we get to, right, would be for design and construction of what that would look like. And so there's I think there's some opportunity here to get some community input. And one thing, thinking about this when I was talking to folks about this, it'd be really just a lovely gesture of, I know that our artist community in many ways has been displaced. I think a lot of them are continuing to try to maintain a connection to Easthampton, and so hopefully really being able to outreach to them and have their input, and hopefully some of them can maybe even create a joint kind of tribute. Does anyone have any questions about that? Questions about that? Yeah.
Question: Do we do we have a budget for this, or is that going to be part of the process you're
I
doing?
think that's gonna be part of the process.
Okay, fantastic.
That's part of the process. Other questions?
No, I suspect the first thing we ought to do is develop the structure of the committee, decide who's going to chair it, who's going to clerk it. Talk about scheduled meetings moving forward. And I think that one of the first things we should do is have an initial open meeting to the public to get their input. So that we have a broader idea of what people are thinking. And then certainly we can have future public meetings, but.
Any questions about kind of this kind of charge?
It's pretty straightforward.
I just want to make sure there's no questions about that.
I actually have one question.
Excellent.
So I note that, I know I wasn't the only one who noted this, the 25th anniversary is coming up next year. Is there a desire to try to meet that deadline? Because that's really soon.
Yep. You know, I think if we, well, you all can talk about that, right?
Because there's no schedule, there's no end date on this.
Right. So I think that initially when we talked about this, it was like, ooh, that would be really great to be able to. And then it was, oh, we got to get it through ordinance committee. And then we had to get the approval of residents and,
It seems like a push.
yeah, it's definitely a push, right? So it'd be great if, is there a design that's ready by then?
Yeah,
Right.
maybe we should
Yeah.
think about what we can have ready by then.
Yeah. So I think that that's something for you all, right? To think through. I think that was the original goal, but the bureaucracy of it, I think, took a little bit longer than we had anticipated.
And I'd like to make a motion that make Mike Townsend the chair.
I'd love to be more involved, but I've got a huge commitment with City Space. We're doing a $4 million elevator project. I wouldn't be able to do it justice, to be honest. Sorry.
That's too bad, because you do a great job.
Yeah. Thank you,
No.
but I don't think that I would have the right kind of time necessary to really be a chair, because that, in my mind, that position is really like the leadership and spends a lot of time planning on what the committee's doing, and
Right.
I just wouldn't be able to fulfill
Yeah,
that.
you are busy up there with that, yeah. No, definitely. Yeah.
Appreciate you being here, though.
Well, no, and I'm actually skipping our annual meeting tonight to come. But there's plenty of people, and I wrote up everything they needed for me. So.
Is there anyone who is interested in
Would like
being
to
the chair?
You look like a chair.
No, we all look like chairs.
At the moment, we all look like chairs.
I will, with a strong preference of somebody else, though. Like, I'll do it if nobody else
That
wants to
sounds like a
do it.
volunteer.
Well, we can also volunteer for clerk.
I'd rather chair than clerk, as long as I don't have to take the minutes.
Yeah, right.
We don't.
I have no experience with city government, so I'm not it.
You look like an excellent note
Librarian, you must
taker.
know keep things in order.
I will do chair if, is this the consensus I'm hearing?
We have to
If-
second.
If either of you are
You
interested.
got people backing you up, so don't worry about it.
All right.
Chair.
We're right behind you.
Got it. Okay, I
Thank
will
you.
I'm way behind you.
do it.
Nice.
If a nomination gets made and seconded and all that, you still have to go through all the motion.
I'll make a motion to make Dylan chair.
Second.
All in favor?
That was unanimous.
Right, well, as chair, now we need a clerk. Do we have any volunteers for clerk? No government experience, but hearing a lot of library experience.
Yeah.
A great segue
You know,
here.
it's a good way to-
I'll volunteer. I don't know if I'm.
It also says
I
it
don't-
can be rotating,
Yeah.
so.
Can be rotating, so we'll
Is there a format I'm supposed to take minutes in?
I can send you yeah, I can send you a template. That's no.
I don't have a computer with me, so I'm just gonna like
Sure.
write notes.
Trying to join the meeting there, yeah.
And we got Sam Furlan from the Gazette joining us now.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, how's it going, Sam?
How are you, Sam?
Does Sam want to be the clerk?
Must be taking notes.
Yeah.
I don't, but hello, everyone.
All right.
All right.
Ryan.
Do we have a motion, nomination for clerk?
Make a motion to make Caroline White the clerk of the committee.
Second. All in favor?
Hi.
Do I get to vote?
Well, I think you're outvoted.
Passes
Drafted.
unanimously. Okay. Well, while we still have you, I'm gonna let you kind of fill us in on a little bit more of just in terms of what you were thinking first. So kind of next steps. We've got this taken care of. So we want to do a little bit of community outreach, I'm going to assume, to try to get,
I mean, I would think so. It just seems to me that during that flag controversy, there are a lot of people with a lot of ideas, a lot of passion. It might not be a bad idea to introduce ourselves to the public and say, we want to hear what you think.
Yeah.
And we may get some good ideas from that. I mean, oftentimes you get a lot of different people in the room. Maybe not every idea is great, but oftentimes you'll pull up ideas that you can work with. It's the kernel of an idea that you can stretch out. And I think that would be helpful in two ways. First of all, the idea about getting your information, but also the idea about getting this on the public's mind. Because folks in town want to express their opinions, and if you give them a good vehicle to do it, it can be really useful.
in terms of outreach, an easy one, I think, is social media. We'll make a post on the Easthampton planning page saying, hey, we have this committee going. We would love to hear community input. Put that out there, see about getting that on the Easthampton community page. It's very active. Might be a good area. Are there other areas that we can think of for outreach? Because as
And possibly have the IT department create an email address just for the committee, so that it doesn't mix up with your emails with your work stuff. I know this is part of work stuff, but at least it centralizes it to some extent.
Wonderful. We can do that as well. And then maybe even something that kind of just distribute directly to the committee. Actually, no, that's easy enough. I can figure that part out. Okay.
I think one thing that would be helpful, and I think some of the conversation could start today, but certainly I think at the next meeting, what would be helpful is to really kind of, what is that narrative? What is that, what's being looked for? Because I'm looking at Sam here from the Gazette, and that might be a really good way of getting the word out, of like being able to articulate kind of what the hope is, right? What the goal is, and then being able to maybe have something in the Gazette to be able to also do that. And then certainly, I think as Mike said, and you said, being through social media, and I think that certainly will be posted to other Easthampton social media posts. And since this is a city council thing, we can certainly get our announcements at city council regarding this. And I would hope that our city councilors would also kind of put that out on their social media, and certainly something from the mayor as well. Right? So I think there's a lot of cool things to look at.
This is something where we should have a space like for people to come, right? Like a space that would work for the public.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably meet in, just one of the conference rooms. We probably won't need to get necessarily the large city conference room. If we become that popular, absolutely, we can always schedule it for that.
How big are they? How big is the large? How many people does it hold?
Well, this is the largest conference room in the building aside from upstairs.
Yeah, if we really get,
Yeah, upstairs is 100.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, you would know that.
Yeah, so we'll see what that level of interest is. But I guess kind of in this first phase here, I think even just getting the idea of what we're thinking about for the actual design of the physical monument is going to be something we really like some input in from the public, and as best as we can try to start brainstorming ideas ourselves, and see what we can come up with. And
I think the other thing that might be helpful, I know it's early on, but to get this answer is if there's any, I don't know if there's anything still available of material from the World Trade.
I started looking at
You
that.
know, I had heard that maybe there wasn't stuff available still, but it might be at least good to have that answer and stuff. So if people say, well, if we could get at this, well, we looked into it already. We can't. We'll have to figure out something ourselves.
Is there a
Yeah.
contact agency for that?
It's the New York and New Jersey Port Authority. They had someone coordinating that. I don't know if there's still somebody doing that, if there's still, so that'll take a little looking into.
It's also important to remember there were 3 different sites, so 3 locations for
Right.
the event. So we focus just on New York, which is the closest, but
Yeah.
we're missing
True.
the sort of the larger.
question we get into just New York, or if we really want to go the full picture.
But I think it's worth
Shanksville.
like exploring all of
Yeah.
those, like the material and the thematic options.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
you're
the
gonna-
charge of the committee to come up with the RFP for the, I'm not a creative
No,
person.
I would-
So.
I would expect that what we give to the procurement officer, they would develop the request for proposals. The formal stuff will happen through the city's offices. But I think design work, all of that will be our responsibility.
Yeah.
But I think letting contracts and the like, we're not going to be the body that's going to do that.
But you'll be reviewing those.
Yeah, we'll ultimately see what the RFP is, but that'll have to be developed.
And they won't be able to develop that until we're done with the idea of what do we want a proposal for. So we'll have to give the details to the city in order for them to develop an RFP. And then the advertising costs and the like, I'm not sure who will bear those. We can worry about that down the road.
And just, I don't know if it's explicit already, but I'm thinking about this is going to be an outdoor piece, correct? This isn't going to be something that's inside the safety complex.
Well, if it's inside, no one's going to see it.
That's kind of what my
Except for the
thinking
lobby,
is.
you can't, the rest of the building is secure.
Yeah.
There's a corner office right here. We could put it in there, perhaps. Just kidding.
Okay. Just want to make sure as I'm going in.
Exterior, something outside.
Yeah.
I'll just share the idea that the folks involved with the flag have always had is that some sort of a plaque
Mhm.
would have been, in hindsight, it would have been useful 24 years ago when we started, but
Yeah.
no one was looking for any accolades or anything on that. And I did notice that we always thought that that original handicapped access platform that is now in disrepair along the entrance of the cemetery road would be a good spot for something that was related to the flag. Now, I don't know if the flag is going to fit into this in the future, and I'm not trying to push that, but that seems like an opportunity for a look, which it also helps the park department by fixing that platform again.
Now, just to get my bearings on the history of this project as well, because this came about from discussions of the flag over Nashawanek Pond. That's how this came about, correct?
So it seemed to, I think there's a lot going on, right? So I think there was the conversation of the flag. There was conversation of, I don't know that fully represents everyone's feelings about the particular, the day, as well as, I think there was some thoughts around, what communities were, everybody was impacted by the day, but I think there's a lot of acknowledgement for police and fire, and everyday citizens who had kind of experienced and were there and whatnot. And so making sure that that voice was included in the conversations of what could that look like, and then certainly, veterans of after and, all of that. So I think there's some interest in expanding or, thinking. So yes, it stemmed from those conversations, but also I think it was what are people saying in regards to that?
There are a lot of stories a lot of commonalities, but also so many reasons for remembering that day.
If people are interested, we can always share our memory of 9/11. What were we doing on 9/11? Is that something everybody would like to do? Is that a story we're all okay sharing?
We were in this room watching it on television.
Wow. Were you still mayor at the time?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
96 to 2014.
Got it.
The other thing I'd like to put out to the public is, do we actually have any Easthampton residents who lost their lives in 9/11?
Not that we found in our early, it was in 01, 02.
Right,
But it doesn't mean that people haven't moved here.
right.
Yeah, or does anybody have like any connections to anybody,
Right.
right? They lost
Absolutely.
So that might be a perfect opportunity to get the public involved.
Right.
And when we have that meeting, it's like, do you know people who have
Right.
direct connections? This is really like late in the game. We're
Right.
doing a memorial for something that happened 24 years ago, but whatever.
Yeah,
And like I said, I really am interested in what the public is thinking about.
absolutely. When it comes to the artifacts, I will continue to look into the New York site through the port authorities to see if there's still anything that we can request from there. So I'll do that.
I wonder who would be a contact for Shanksville or the Pentagon.
I hadn't dug that far.
No,
yet.
yeah, I wonder who. I'm just trying to think out loud.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be anything from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's a crash in the field.
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't necessarily have to have some artifact.
Right. No, sure. Yeah.
I think that the concept behind collective memory, which is I think what a memorial is for, is really to try to distill, the collective memory. And if this is Easthampton's memory, it should be kind of Easthampton focused, I think.
Yeah.
This is a city in its own right. It's not New York, it's not Washington, but it's full of people who live and care and are citizens and vote and don't vote. And so I think that I would urge us to really think about like what this means for Easthampton.
That's a big
I
part
agree
of
with
pulling
that.
the stories out of the public for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, our local artist community can really contribute to that as well. There's some beautiful pieces already that represent Easthampton, so continuing with that narrative, I think would be good.
But staying focused that it's not about Easthampton, right?
Yeah, it's a balance. It's a,
Yeah.
Right. It's a great point.
it's a lot to try to do.
Yeah.
You asked a question, right? Like people, I'm sure. I actually wasn't in the United States at the time when 9/11 happened. I was living in Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan is a Muslim country. And it was morning here, and it was 10 o'clock at night, there when I was seeing on the news, like what was happening and trying to understand Russian, what everything was going on as they were all very getting used and in the moment and trying to process it and whatnot. And, I remember, hearing Americans need to like shelter in place and, not go out and whatnot. So, the next morning I'm really glad I did this. I got up and I went to work. And I rode the bus. And there were people who were crying. There were people who were just blankly looking out. Where I would live, you had to go through the stand. So they were just kind of looking out into the distance and visibly upset because they too recognized the magnitude of what had happened. And I remember going to work and people coming up to me and just devastated at what they had seen and were watching and, learning. And, I had imams come up to me and, they were just wanted me to know unequivocally that this had nothing to do with who they were, and this it didn't represent Islam, and it was just a very deeply moving and profound experience for me, because I think that completely made me think and shaped how I saw, the tragedy of that day and what it meant, not just for this community, but what it meant on a global landscape. And so that always just really stayed with me. And when I think about this day and the events of that day, I often think about the people on the bus and what that meant for them as well.
Thank you for sharing that. And that, really incredible to see that, first real time what was happening, in another country while that was happening here. I'll go next. I was young. I was 11 years old when it happened. I remember I was in 3rd, 4th grade, 5th grade, whatever age you are, whatever grade you are at 11 years old. I remember I was sitting in class and the teacher from the next room was coming in and talking very quietly with, our homeroom teacher, and they appeared very, very worried. And we all kind of noticed this. We're all sitting there for kind of an extended period of time wondering, what it is that's happening, till finally our homeroom teacher comes in and tells us what it was that had happened. 2 planes had just hit the World Trade Center, explaining a little bit, as best they could, because it's not like we really know what the Trade Center was or any of that. So, but 11, we're able to get the general concept pretty quickly of what had happened, and then going home early, and then just hearing about it on the news nonstop for days, weeks, months, what it felt like. And it was interesting kind of growing up on the backdrop of 9/11, because I feel like that event as a kid got me paying attention to politics and national politics. And I remember even at 14 years old, really following intently what was happening with the Patriot Act kind of as a result of 9/11. And it really, I think, myself and, a generation of kids really tuned into global politics in a way that just wouldn't have been the same without something like that. So it's really interesting to just see how a tragedy like that really, even though it's far away in a sense, really can end up shaping your whole worldview for the rest of your life in a way that you just don't expect it to. John, I'll let you go.
Yeah, so I was actually in class at HCC at the time, and there were some rumblings in the class, and I heard so and so heard this and that, and I was like, oh, they're out of their mind. There's no way that happened. And sure enough, it did. We got a an announcement that the school was closed. I don't remember the exact words. Everybody was kind of numb after they hear what they hear. Nobody believes what's going on. And what really hit home to me, though, is about 3 to 4 months prior, I was in Air Force technical school training for Intel. and I had to brief a room of generals on Al Qaeda and their capabilities and the threats and everything like that. And of course, it wasn't all the actual real-time data, but it was really, it turned my stomach that, I had that sort of connection with it. And, being in the Air National Guard, after, days after, I was just waiting and hoping that we would be deployed over to, help out in New York. I mean, everybody came up to help out. So I was like, why not us? We had all the light carts and generators loaded up on the trailers and everything like that. And we were ready to go, but we never got the go ahead to do it. And so I had wished I had had a part in helping out with that. But, all in all, it's there is a lot of people there that, I'm really thankful that did help out and were there for a lot of people. So.
Tom?
Well, I had recently returned to the country after living abroad for a while and was in the throes of my cultural adjustment reentry, kind of feeling disillusioned being back. And I was supposed to start teaching a course on international and intercultural communication that day to a very international group from everywhere. And I'd stopped to get gas in the morning. So I was at the gas station when I heard on the radio. And so going up to school, it was decided that we weren't going to start classes that day, but we were going to have a community kind of event. And so to be in a room with 100 people from probably 30 different countries, and hearing their reactions of what was happening and kind of talking it through and hearing that was kind of my, okay, I'm okay to be, back in this country now. So.
And I misspoke. We weren't in this building. We were still at 43 Main Street, but we were in a conference room watching after we heard the news. And the phone started to light up not too long after. There was people saying, what can we do? I know police and fire got involved to some extent. They and you were on, right? You were around then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think not too long after that, you were assigned there, were you?
Yeah, I was down there, yeah.
And we were doing a roof on that building at the time. And the custodian came in and said, I want to put a flag up on the staging. So that tall tower, that 140-foot tower was staged to the top. And in a matter of a couple of days, we had a 12 by 18-foot flag on it. Wow. The Masons weren't happy because every time the wind come up, it acted like a sail. And then about 5 or 6 days later, I got a call from a local contractor here who said, Richard came, talked to him, wanted to put a flag up on the pond, and that's kind of, I think that was up by November.
Wow. No, pass for now.
Okay,
Pass it on to you.
great. So I mentioned I lived in New York. I used to be a book editor at Penguin Books, and our offices were at Houston and Hudson, so about a mile north of the World Trade Center. So I was on the subway coming down from uptown, and the subway kept not stopping, or there was a lot of delays. It's a little fuzzy, but a lot of delays, and I had to get off maybe from an express to a local. And I started hearing things about, commuter plane, something. So I started hearing these weird things, and I ended up getting off the stop early because the train wouldn't go any further. And people were already streaming up from downtown, like walking, all on their cell phones. I did not have a cell phone at the time. I got to my office and learned what had happened. I think my sister called, most calls couldn't get through. Exceptions were my sister calling from Washington and an author calling me from Ireland. And it was a beautiful blue sky day. People talk about that a lot, about 9/11 in New York. The sky was incredibly blue. It was an election day. So elections were immediately postponed. And we all had to kind of figure out how we were going to get home, what we were going to do. But our bosses were out in the halls saying we could send the assistants home. I had an assistant whose stepmother worked in one of the towers, and he was waiting to hear if she was okay. So we could see the smoke. Some of my colleagues saw the second plane fly into the building, and it was the first time I lived in New York that I felt scared. Because we didn't know, at that time, we knew nothing except for basically what had happened. And I walked home 4.5 miles or something with a bunch of colleagues, and I'm glad I was wearing pretty decent shoes. And I'm sure there's so much more I could say, but I've said this to Connie, things still kind of trigger that. For months afterward, every time the subway went below Times Square, I fixated on Times Square, thought something's going to happen now. So it really altered things in New York. And for me in my life, I think, although, that you kind of resume at some point, but the smell, we were close enough that our offices were closed for a few weeks. I have a college classmate who was one of the last people to get out of one of the buildings. So I know people who had, some closer relationship than I did. I didn't see anything too traumatic, but I have a really good imagination. And I think that's partly why, what was happening, and you feel really vulnerable. And I think, there's, as I said, we all have these stories, and there's a lot to try to put on one memorial. So I don't know how we're going to do that, but we got to try. So, and I think Connie pointed to, healing and being a really important component. Because I think everyone felt like something could happen anywhere. And I wouldn't have thought, I didn't give Easthampton much thought then, except for my sister lived here. So that's why I moved here. My other sister. So anyway, we talked too much. Thank you. So
Thank you.
your turn now. But no pressure. You don't have to.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I was at the house.
But you went down.
I responded down. I was on the federal disaster team, so we responded down immediately. We were on the bus at midnight.
That night?
That night. Yeah, we were on the bus at midnight. Went to Stewart Air Force Base, just above the city.
In Newburgh, yeah.
Yeah, and then the next day I was down sleeping on Chelsea Pier. And the day after that, we were in Ground Zero, for 2 weeks. I spent 2 weeks at the pile, working around the pile and stuff. So we set up 4 medical stations directly on the pile. So we worked 8-hour shifts at the pile. So pretty much when we got there, anybody who had survived had walked away and survived. We pretty much took care of, the workers and such down there, the first responders and everything. Watching the bucket brigade on the pile. So we did that for 2 weeks, day after day, going down there and working there, walking by crushed fire engines and cars and everything.
Do you remember the memorials that
Yes.
impromptu memorials?
So I never really gone to New York. I've never gone to New York City before. So, but it felt like a small town. That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah.
And the armory. The armory was covered on all 4 walls with missing people and stuff. I have a 25-minute PowerPoint. I have pictures from our team that I have from World Trade that we all took. Smells still bring back memories.
Yeah.
the morgue, the decaying bodies. It's just, it was still well smoking when we were down there. Wear a mask, don't wear masks. Yeah, you can wear masks. No, the air quality's fine. No, it's not fine. It's just, kind of back and forth with that and such. And we just did what we could for 2 weeks and took care of things. And but the memorials, we drove. It was the story. It's just driving down there. It was like we were in a caravan, and literally like people in the line of the streets, like we were, like it was like we were liberating a town in France in World War II. It was really incredible, like coming down there to help and stuff, and just people like food, clothes, everything. The streets were just lined with people who wanted to help. People came out of the woodwork to help. I mean, it's just incredible. It was.
You did bring out the best of us.
Yes, it did. Incredibly.
Tragedy, but it did.
Right. No, absolutely, Mike. It really did. So, yeah. Anyway, that was my couple of days.
It's interesting that you were, because when people would come to visit in the months after that, and they would always want to go to Ground Zero, and I refused. Like, I did not want to go.
Right.
I didn't want to go.
Right. So it was only till 2013 we did a bus trip back with the team. And I got halfway through the museum. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I don't need to see this stuff. I was actually disgusted by the museum, but then I thought about it for a while. I was like, well, the people need to see this, right? Who didn't see it, right? And that's important for generations. I get that and stuff, but just, it was very hard in there. I loved the outside, the two big reflecting, the waterfall.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course the bronze on the 10 house, on the firehouse and stuff, the bronze, it's covered the side, the memorial there. That was beautiful. And stuff, but yeah, it was like I'm like all set. I don't have to go back and go good and stuff. But it's important, I guess, that stuff for generations to see and such. But the things in the museum were like the things I saw on the street.
Yeah,
That's what it was. Anyway, so
it's intense.
So if you want to, I can share the slideshow with you folks if you want to see it sometime.
But thank you for
More than
telling.
happy to. No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for telling me. So anyway, all right.
I'm glad that we all, share what our connection was for the day. And thank you, all very much for participating in that. I mean, it's going to be a lot to think about for kind of how do we want to, capture some of this into a memorial, something that can be, easily accessible. So I think the idea now, I want to do a little bit of outreach. I've got, for my part, for between now and our next meeting, I'm going to develop a post for social media. Happy to do that. Other methods of outreach that folks would like to do. So we have kind of action between now and the next meeting, because I'd like to, obviously we'll be taking public comment throughout the whole process. I just don't want to end up in a situation where people didn't hear it and then we hear a great idea by the time we're kind of already doing requests for proposals.
Yeah, and make sure that the two chiefs know so they can repost on their Facebook too, because that gets out to a lot of folks.
Reach out to the chiefs.
And Representative Gomez.
You might also include Senator Vellis as long as you're reaching that way.
Are you thinking that Mike mentioned having a public meeting sooner rather than later? Are you thinking of incorporating that into the first post, or are you going to like seed the?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe the next meeting should be that very first public outreach.
Yeah.
Schedule the room, pick a day that we can all obviously make it, and then invite the public in and have that meeting just listening.
Yep.
On our part.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we want to, for the next meeting that we have to between now and then, really try to do as much outreach as we can to see if we can get people in. I think if we give ourselves, I think obviously, I'm thinking January for our next meeting, let people get through the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
post about it now, get people, and then as we get closer, start posting some reminders, hey, this is going to be happening. And I guess, what are we asking for? Are we asking for people's stories of where they were on 9/11, what their thoughts are on 9/11? Are we really kind of keeping it narrow to how do you think we should memorialize 9/11?
Yeah,
Is this really, we want to be specific about that?
Yeah, let's keep it to.
And I think that as a committee, we should figure out kind of our scope before, like, to me, it seems like if we have some guidelines, we can then guide the process with the public a little more than the other way around, you know?
I don't know how we would develop the guidelines and
I'm not
some
like-
sense as to what we want to do. I mean, maybe you have a better idea about that, but
No, I don't. I just think that it would at least be good to have some common language as a committee to be able to, you know, say, this is what we're gathering people here to help give input to, you know, these things.
Yeah, the other thing might be, again, to put it out to the art community, right?
Mhm.
'Cause they might want to come to this too, so they can listen, right? And then start to kind of develop their thought process on maybe what, if they want to be involved or someone wants to be involved, what they would perceive as something, you know what I mean? So that might be something to push it out to
So
them too.
That's a good idea, I think, to have a couple of, maybe design a couple of questions to keep things within a certain parameter.
Yeah,
Um,
because otherwise we're.
Right.
I think
I know.
definitely mentioning that the physical constraints, that this will be a physical memorial, it will be located at the safety complex.
Well, I don't know, we want to limit it to located at the safety complex, partly because there's not a lot of space there.
Okay.
You don't want it behind the building. There's space behind the building, but we don't typically don't want people behind the building. So you've got a little bit of lawn in front of the police department. That's about all you got.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know that we want, at this time, that we should limit it to that. It
Got
may end up being there, and there may be a perfectly good place for whatever we come up with, depending on size, scope, that sort of thing. But I don't know that we want to start out saying it has to be there.
I think that's an important point.
Yeah.
Definitely, got it. So location to be determined.
I think it really has to do with what we actually come up with for a memorial. I mean, if we get a piece of a fire truck or something, you know, maybe you want to have it, figure out where to put it, you know, something like that.
Sure.
You know, so just to give an example of one thing. So that's why, you know, yeah, let's not paint ourselves in a corner.
I don't know, maybe the idea of narrowing it down is just to use this one statement as the purpose of the committee. And ask people to comment back on that. The idea that, you know, I mean, that statement was put together by whomever, right? Whether it was Salem or a group of whoever. But I mean, it does sort of points us to a direction.
And then leave it open-ended as input, basically.
This is what we're trying to do. What do you think it ought to be?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
You know,
Keep it simple.
and
Yeah.
take the ideas, listen. And more than likely, people are going to express their personal remembrance of it as they talk to us. And you know, you have to allow that.
What themes could emerge? Maybe we could
Yes.
start
Yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
like, you know, what's
Yeah.
important to.
And I think that, I mean, it's fairly concise. We want to recognize everyone. We want it to be someplace that is accessible to everyone. And we want it to be a purpose of, you know, remembrance, tribute and remembrance. And so I think that narrows down what we're asking the public to comment on.
I might even say that and leave that general idea of the input using that, what you just outlined there. And also, you know, please contact the committee if you have a direct connection with 9/11.
That you'd like to share.
Right.
And I don't know how we would incorporate that, but
That could be a separate
it's
thing
worth
too.
knowing. Yeah, it's worth knowing.
Would that fall under, Dylan, you said you were going to look into getting a dedicated email address? So is that?
Yeah, I can see about, and that's just logistically, do we have one that's kind of shared, or is it one that people send it to that email address and then it kind of automatically forwards to the rest of the committee?
Right.
Something like that. Logistically, I can figure that out with IT of how to best do that. But yes, I think that would be an idea if people want to kind of send and invite people to email directly, like, attend the meeting, or if you have ideas or want to share stories, please email us there. And then that way, hopefully we can get some more response from people who'd rather just send an email rather than necessarily come down to City Hall and attend a meeting. So we can hopefully get some good feedback from the public that way as well.
I would add, when you're talking IT, I would look for a way that doesn't flood our email boxes. So one thought is that the emails are turned into PDFs, and you send us a PDF file once a month or once a week or whatever, so that we have one thing. Because if you end up getting 100 emails and they automatically fire, then we're going to all get 100 emails.
So, yeah.
And my email box gets pretty full already.
Fair
Let's not
enough.
talk about full email boxes. Rebecca, you brought up the idea of scope. Does this meet that, or would you say or add anything else?
I don't know. I mean, I think definitely using this first kind of piece of it and being clear that, this is to design a tribute and support opportunities for the community, both in design, but also in use or reflection or, that kind of thing.
Got it. All right. So for what I have now for that first, public press, social media, we're looking for how to memorialize. Want to invite the art community, location to be determined, but public land, and then I'll work with IT to figure out just as you're saying, some way to just condense all the emails that we get. I can share them out ahead of the next meeting, kind of materials I would do for any other board or committee. And we can go from there. I have Tom, between now and our next meeting, you're going to look into the possibility of acquiring any artifacts that could be incorporated into material or into the memorial. Any other action items between now and our next meeting?
Set that meeting.
Set that meeting as well. Are we ready to set the meeting, or go ahead?
Is this generally a good day for everybody?
Mondays are great for me.
This particular Monday, no. Because I am
Thank
skipping
you for
another
being
meeting.
here.
But Mondays and Tuesdays for me are generally good. So except for this particular, what is it, that's third Monday, that's the only Monday.
I will say in January and February, on Mondays, we're having the Municipal Leadership Academy. So I don't know if Tuesday would be better. Can't do Tuesdays.
Monday, the 26th, is that?
It would be a thing, but I mean, it's a small group, but I want to acknowledge that maybe some of those people might want to participate. So I don't know, right? So. But it doesn't mean it can't happen. Because there'd be another opportunity, right, for people to participate. So I'm just acknowledging.
Yeah, and they'd be able to email us.
Right.
Yeah. And let's take a quick look. So with that, I might shove us into a different room, but
I'd have to look at the schedule.
Yeah.
Because we might be at the fire department that night. So I don't have the schedule off the top of my head.
well, if we can't end up in here, we can always end up upstairs as well. If that's everyone's okay with that.
Well, the big room next door, if
Yeah.
you need to,
As long as I can find
there's
it.
plenty of room.
Martin Luther King Day is the 19th, is that correct? So do we want to do earlier in the month? Do we want to do the 12th, or do we want to go ahead and do the 26th? What do you think? What do we
Either
think?
day works for me. I'm just wondering how much attention we're going to get from people between now and the first of the year.
I would
So
think the 26th.
I would think the later in the month, the better.
I think I agree.
Yeah.
January 30th.
It's already filled up.
Monday, 26.
Same
I think it might be good if we're having two opportunities to have one, kind of around this time, but maybe doing one on a weekend during the day or something when people who work in the evenings might be able to come to something like
Sure,
that.
it's like a Saturday morning,
Yeah.
late Saturday morning or something like
Yeah.
that. And I think we can have more than two. I
Mhm.
mean, I think, we're being asked at least two, but
I think the library annex might be a
Yeah.
nice central location as well.
Absolutely.
that's
Like,
what
I think
that might be a great spot for
Yeah.
a weekend meeting.
You have a conference room or like a room?
Yeah, it's just a
Huge
big
space,
open
big space.
room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So I think
it's essentially the bank lobby is
Yeah.
just wide open.
It's just wide open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we have both meetings there or?
I was gonna say, if we prefer, we think that might be a better meeting space, maybe even just get some people wandering in for the library as well.
Mhm.
Curious about what's going on. Could be a way to do it, as we're not exactly gonna get a whole lot of foot traffic
We
here.
need to check with them to see what availability. I don't know, like nights, I don't know if they have someone there normally.
Another possibility would be the COA.
Mhm.
It's handicap accessible.
Union, the old post office.
I will check for both locations. I'll add that to my to-do list. Locations, and then I'll go ahead and schedule, once I've got a meeting location, I'll go ahead and put together the Google Calendar and send that out to all of you folks.
And are you're thinking 6:00?
6:00.
Next Monday meeting?
Monday, 26th, yep.
How much response do we think we get for that first? I'm just saying, are we gonna be here till midnight if we start at 6?
School night.
We would be so fortunate if we got that level of response.
We can put a cap on it too.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should have any meetings to go beyond 8:00.
Right,
I
absolutely.
mean, I don't think it's fair for people sitting in committees to
Right.
sit for more than a couple hours, never mind. And if there's that much public desire, we have another.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
How much time do people have to speak at those meetings?
Generally, it is limited to 3 minutes, but that's a choice that we can make. If we've got somebody who wants to really share a story, I'm open to it. If it ends up being very popular and we have a lot of people we have to get through, we would limit it to 3 minutes.
Yeah, and you'll have the authority to kind of decide that if you have 5 people that want to talk, that, you can probably let them talk a little longer. But if you've got 50, then you've got to limit them.
Right.
I don't know the questions. I'm just about to say something. But, there's one thing for people to get up and share, but maybe there's an opportunity to just have some flip chart paper around and different questions on there that people could also just very succinctly express an idea. But if we're looking at, concept ideas or whatever, then that might be something too.
That would be good for concepts and locations and things like that. Let them, I like this better than that sort of thing.
Yeah, but then there's also the storytelling aspect of it, or but that might be something too, of being able to just kind of get some initial ideas down of that.
Do we want to invite a facilitator here in case we do get a big turnout to be able to run a little bit smoothly? Or is that something that you're good with?
Yeah, if it's really, this is all kind of, we'd be so fortunate to have this problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just again, doing these types of public outreach things, you're usually struggling to get people, then you are containing them.
Absolutely.
And I don't have any thought that this is going to be a conflict.
Yeah.
I don't think people are going to come with the same sort of mindset that they might when they don't want you to do something.
Right.
So I expect it'll be a friendly crowd. And they're fairly easy to control.
Yeah, and I'll have a sense of if this is going to be, a very well attended, if I'm getting flooded with emails and there's a lot of interest. we will know well ahead of the meeting whether or not, we're gonna need to be ready for a crowd. I think it'll probably be some emails, people sharing stories, people sharing ideas, and then hopefully we'll get a couple of people who do want to come and participate. So, excellent. So
You can see the availability of the conference rooms next door, right? You should be able to see on your calendar.
in theory, yes. From probably my own calendar, I can
yeah,
add. I
okay.
don't know if it's on Google Meets,
Yeah.
readily accessible. I'd have to add it to it.
As long as you can look at that. If you need-
Yeah, I can figure that out. I'm not too worried. We'll be able to find a meeting
yeah.
place on a Monday night. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the tough nights around here. So, all right. So I think we've got what we're doing kind of between now and the next meeting. Anything else that we want to think about between now and the 26th?
So we're not going to meet ourselves between now and then.
No, but I believe that.
You'll communicate with us.
Yep. And let me double check. I don't believe there's open meeting law violations in communicating with each other.
We don't have any government authority.
Yeah. So
We want to have open meetings, but three of us, a majority of us still can't do anything.
yeah. So
We don't have any authority, so we have to be aware of the public meeting stuff, but I don't.
Yep.
I don't think we have to be too concerned about whether or not three of us happen to talk.
yeah. And if people have ideas in that case and do want to email, feel free to do so. I think just at the end of it, I'll be using on the city's page as well, just emails corresponding between all of us. Anything just will kind of go into the public record.
Can you create a group email ID so that we can address it to one email and it goes to everyone?
So emails that come from,
From us.
From us.
If you want to communicate to us,
Yeah.
create a, 9/11 committee group, mass email where
Yep.
you put in one address and it gets to all six of us.
yeah, I can do that.
Also create a Google folder or something like that where put the email in there so that we can go in,
Shared drive.
in the shared drive, so we can go in and see them
That's another-
at
that's
our
another-
leisure
that's
rather
another
than
way-
having them
that's-
come to
yeah,
our
that's another way to
inboxes.
do it, yeah. That
Yeah,
would
you
work
could-
too.
You could put minutes in there too.
Yeah.
I think the only meeting law thing that you would have to be careful of is just if you're deliberating. So I think that's the one, but I don't know if this counts as that, but I know that's one thing that in the communities that I'm in, we're not allowed to deliberate, right? Like we can't make decisions over email because it's not a meeting, right? So, but I don't.
Yeah, I'll double check just to make sure that we're not going to run afoul of any open meeting laws. So I believe generally the rule is for committees, especially any individual member can work with any other individual member. I just know you can't. It's once you get to a quorum, is when you get issues. So 4 of us can't create our own little thread.
Right.
And yeah, where that question is, where is deliberation? I think it's easy. Again, I don't think we have to worry too much about getting in the weeds of open meeting law, but doesn't mean we should intentionally run afoul of them either.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Go ahead.
I'll let you know about the COA tomorrow since my office is there.
Okay. Wonderful. Makes it easy.
See, I told you I got your back.
Right. Excellent. Perfect. Excellent. As long as I
Way
have
back.
you folks to support me here. Wonderful.
Again,
I made you a key.
kind of just throwing this out there because it's like rattling around in my head, right? Mike kind of alluded a little bit like, it's been 24 years, right? And we're just doing this month, right? Everybody else did it right away within a few years. And I don't know, it's just, I mean, I'm not,
We did too, just not as a,
No,
not
right,
as a city.
I guess, okay. I'm trying to like wrap around my head around that. I'm not saying, it's not the thing to do, right? Or anything like that. But I guess I'm thinking sometimes of some of the war memorials and stuff that took years maybe to go up to, but I don't know, any thoughts on that with me? I don't know.
It doesn't seem odd.
Right, okay.
And maybe again, maybe I don't understand this correct. My understanding was that the flag came up as part of that memorial to 9/11. Like that's when that had first gone up. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, flag, 24 years has been flying in memory of 9/11.
I think the idea is to create something more formal that is clear, because again, I've been working in the city.
Or formalize that.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
But whatever, we
Yeah, no.
definitely will talk more, but
Yeah, no, sure.
Yeah, because I know coming here for 2 years, I didn't know that that's why the flag flew above the pond. I just thought
I
that
don't think
was,
most people do.
just thought that was something that we did. So the idea might be to make something more clear, more formal, that this is to memorialize 9/11, rather than just, you know, an American flag above the pond, something to do kind of right after, but to now actually create a real memorial for it.
codify it or whatever.
Exactly.
But I think we need to listen to the public and
Yeah.
see what their ideas are as
Sure.
well. And, you know, if something else is appropriate or something in addition to that, maybe it's not, maybe they're not exclusive.
Yep.
Right. Okay, cool. Thank you, guys.
Any other thoughts for the moment? All right. Well, with that in mind, do we want to go ahead, make the motion for our next meeting to be, we'll meet next Monday, the 26th of January at 6 p.m. at a location to be determined.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That passes. With that, anything else? Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Right, non-debatable motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned at 7:13.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.